but they aren't, and instead, I am paralyzed with fear. It is January 29th, 2015, and over the past school year, I have seen my parents exactly 5 times. Many people back at the boarding school I have grown to love so dearly think I've gone home for a long weekend. But this isn't a visit, and I'm waiting for my dad to finish hugging my mom, who sobs uncontrollably in the darkness outside of the car. The clock reads 4:30 a.m., but my body doesn't acknowledge the early hour. It has been months since I have felt awake, and I don't notice the difference. In less than an hour, I'll be on a flight headed to Denver, Colorado. No, I'm not going to ski or hike or explore or any of the other countless activities I'd rather be getting ready to do. Instead, I'm going to treatment for anorexia. I have no idea how long I'll be there, how often I'll be allowed to talk to my family and friends, or how exactly they think they're going to get me to start eating. Just a week ago, I was at boarding school, and although my entire experience there wasn't all positive, the place still felt like home. Now, it just feels like it has been ripped between my fingers. Over the past week, I have seen the faces of my parents and friends drop with fear and shock upon hearing the news that the severity of my condition requires hospitalization. I have seen my pediatrician, who told my parents to take me to a hospital and get me a feeding tube if I continued to refuse to eat and drink. My parents have found the Eating Recovery Center, a hospital specialized in the treatment of eating disorders located in Denver, Colorado. Today is the day I will be admitted, and I should be a wreck, but I'm not. It seems like eating disorders have this effect. The rest of that day is a blur. I can remember a brief meeting with my treatment team, but nothing was talked about. I can remember sitting in a spinny chair, 1,670.7 miles away from home, with my heart pounding and my toes curled under my feet. I can remember a man coming over with a plastic red hospital bracelet and putting it around my wrist. Most of all, I can remember feeling handcuffed. I remember a short nurse coming over and leading me into an exam room, asking me countless questions. I remember her asking me if I had ever passed out, and me lying, telling her that I hadn't. I remember jolting at her response, a little surprised by her tone as she snapped, "Now is not the time to joke around. We have your blood pressure right here and it's orthostatic. You can't tell me you haven't passed out." I managed to nod, but little did I know that would be far from the scariest thing I would face all day. A few minutes later, another nurse came into the room to call me for snack. Snack? I thought to myself, who eats snack? They can't possibly expect me to eat right now. I was wrong. 8 minutes into the allotted 15-minute time frame for snacks, the nurse at my table tells me that I need to try to take a few bites. My jaw clenches as I try to put the smallest piece of honeydew in my mouth. After that, I don't try anything else. When the 15 minutes are up, the nurse tells me to stay at the table afterwards, and she pours me an 8-ounce glass of a high-calorie supplement. I have 5 minutes to drink the whole thing, but I take one sip. Afterwards, with a sympathetic smile, she tells me that if I am unable to finish my food, then I must drink the supplements, but if I refuse to do that, then they will give me a feeding tube. So I guess that's how they think I'll be eating. Got it. I've been here an hour, but I already want to leave. 28 days, I think to myself. My parents told me that I would probably be here for 4 weeks. Maybe I can get out in 2, I think to myself. 14 days, in time for state championships for diving. Little do I know that I will spend exactly 10 times as long in treatment as I am hoping. 140 days, 20 weeks, 5 months. Looking back, I never could have told you that it would be the hardest 5 months of my life, but even more so, I never could have or would have guessed that with each therapist, dietitian, and psychiatrist appointment, each visit with my family, each meal and snack I finished, and each friendship I made, I would begin the seemingly never-ending journey of healing, of progress, and of gaining weight, strength, and voice. It was the hardest 140 days of my life without a doubt, but it was also the most rewarding. I no longer regret struggling with an eating disorder ever, no longer because of my attachment to it, but because it has taught me so much that I would not have otherwise been able to learn, and I have met so many beautiful people along the way. I have learned that there is always light to be found, even in the midst of what seems like an unthinkable darkness. I have learned that I do have a voice of my own, and that it can be louder than any of the demons in my head that were previously in control. I have learned that pain is never pointless unless you allow it to be, so this is me, standing here, not letting my pain be pointless. Most importantly, I have learned that sometimes the things that seem the most impossible, like recovery, are the things most worth fighting for. And that while my eating disorder will be the hardest thing I ever have to face, but has the greatest reward of all. I got my life back. Looking back to January 29th, 2015, I wish I could tell the girl in the front seat of her dad's car the next chapter of my story. Our story. That girl and I may have been the same person at one point in time, but we are two different people now. Since I cannot rewind time and say all of this to the girl I used to be, I am telling all of you this now, in case any of you were the girl I was just over a year ago or know her. Stereotypes of those struggling with eating disorders are nothing but generally inaccurate and hurtful. Society sets a standard that those struggling have to meet in order to ask for help. I can tell you that that stereotype is nothing but a lie, but I didn't know that. And I spent so long desperately trying to become that stereotype that when I got there, I didn't even think I was sick enough to deserve help. So I won't tell you how much I weighed at my lowest, or how many days I went without eating a single thing, or how many inches circled my waist, or my thighs, or my wrists. Because those things are irrelevant. Because an eating disorder is not reflected in the number on the scale or in the size jeans you wear. Because I refuse to allow society to continue telling people that unless you are skin and bone, you cannot have an eating disorder. Because I refuse to invalidate anyone else's struggle the way I have invalidated my own by telling myself that no matter how often I was starving myself to death, I was not skinny enough. Nothing about anorexia or bulimia is anything like the way you see it portrayed online or in TV. Instead of looking like a supermodel, I whittled away to an almost lifeless version of myself. My hair was falling out of my head, I had no energy, and I was bruised and dry all over. It was awful. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't a choice, and it wasn't vain. Unfortunately, my struggle is not unique. I share it with upwards of 70 million people, boys and girls, worldwide. If any of you recognize the girl I described at the beginning of my story, if there's a voice inside your head that yells at you each time you pick up your fork, or each time you look in the mirror, listen to me when I tell you that talking will help you more than you know. Tell somebody, anybody, please. Don't wait until you deem yourself sick enough, because that day will never come. You will never be skinny enough for your eating disorder unless you die. So I am begging you, please. If not for longer, let your own voice be louder than the voices in your head for 1 minute, no matter how difficult. I promise it will be worth it. And for the rest of you, I hope each of you educate yourselves on eating disorders and the warning signs, but more crucially, I hope each of you know, or grow to know, your own worth. Your worth has nothing to do with the way you look, the friends you have, or anything you have accomplished. It isn't defined by any grade, score, skill, number, or anything. You are worth it all because you exist, and because you exist, you have everything you need within you to make a positive impact on this world. Please, don't be scared to be confident. Scream to the world that you love yourself. Hopefully people will follow in your example. And please be kind to others and yourself, because you never know the extent of the damage you are causing. Thank you.